Remember, in 2014, after the Mike Brown shooting in Ferguson, Missouri police officer and former Sergeant Major Dan Page told us of the esoteric plan of the elites being put in place concerning this nation.
World government, folks. Anybody that resists it is dead, including you.
A plan that was meant to set this nation on its head, to turn everything upside down, to take away your rights while causing chaos and anarchy in the streets, paving the way for the one world government and its leader, the Antichrist.
They will kill you. They will kill you. And now let me give you the last thing I want to tell you. When a nation crumbles, you're going to start to see more. The news media is going to start banging on something. That's how psychological warfare works. They talk about this, and this is happening over here. It's called a distraction. There's going to be an emphasis upon international events. The news media is going to pound it, pound it, pound it.
This is real-life terrorism. Not a Hollywood movie, but designed to look like one. Horrific killing sprees in Iraq, deliberately recorded on video.
ISIS claiming responsibility for the terror attack.
ISIS has claimed responsibility for the blast that killed more than 30 people and wounded at least 200 others.
When terrorists attacked the Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya last month, CNN has got access to surveillance camera footage from the mall. Much of what we're about to show, it's graphic, frightening, and it's painful to watch, and it is not suitable for children.
It's the third terror attack on France in just 18 months, leaving more than 80 people dead, including at least 2 Americans.
Fox News alert, new questions raised in the wake of the deadly terror attacks in Brussels about whether the world is doing enough to try to battle ISIS.
The world has to be united against terrorism, and we can and we will defeat those who threaten the safety and security not only of our own people, but of people all around the world.
The second thing is you're going to start to see a group or a person guilty of racism or something along those lines. We're going to start pounding on that. They want your attention over here.
Notice he said someone would be blamed for racism. It is clear that the police have been cast in the role of the racist antagonist in America's nightmare through the recent orchestrated shootings of black men that continue to occur across this country. The protagonists, or anti-heroes, cast in Satan's dark fantasy are none other than the vigilantes, the lone gunmen, and crazed fanatics who rail about government conspiracies and about fighting back against oppression and tyranny. But is this actually the case? Or has the adversary's serpentine labyrinth purposefully clouded the facts and convoluted the circumstances in an effort to confuse the masses? You must ask yourself, are you living in a world where you can blindly believe the images broadcast into your home from the tell lie vision? Or are you living in a world where you must use good judgment and spiritual discernment to decipher the information you digest, because in this world, things are not always exactly as they seem? Has the country been duped into believing a manufactured narrative because of the lies, propaganda, and innuendo spread by the mainstream media? I would like to offer a few thoughts on the recent cop shootings, and I will also offer a very plausible explanation for these seemingly senseless and random acts of violence by so-called vigilantes or lone gunmen.
Investigators released these chilling pictures of the shooter from surveillance video. You can see the shooter, Gavin Long, wearing all black and heavily armed during the shootout.
A quiet Sunday in this Memorial neighborhood interrupted by the sound of gunfire.
Bullet after bullet after bullet after bullet, non-stop.
A war zone in the heart of West Houston. Police say a man with an AR-15 and a pistol first shot a man just sitting in his car, then began to spray bullets aimed at anything and anyone, including police.
So far, we have witnessed 3 men involved in planned shootings of police. Dionisio Garza III, Micah Xavier Johnson, and Gavin Eugene Long. It should be noted that each of these men were decorated military soldiers who served in conflict overseas. Dionisio Garza III served in the army in Afghanistan. Micah Xavier Johnson served in Afghanistan also. Gavin Eugene Long was a decorated ex-sergeant in the Marines who served in Iraq. Remember, Sergeant Dan Page told us that the government would send mercenaries, hired guns, men highly skilled in military tactics, expert killers to murder people in America.
Okay? Contractors are going to come in. They'd be me. People like me, but on the other side. They're going to kill you. You're going to start seeing people, that person sitting next to you a few years from now will not be sitting there because they're going to be gone. Because somebody like me is going to come in and kill you. For all you wannabes out here who think you're the baddest thing in the world, I got news for you. You're going to meet bad. Not that bad can't be killed, but when you're talking with somebody who does this 24/7 every day of their life, they get pretty good at it. Right? Not somebody who just does it every now and then.
Imagine, if you will, that each of these men were all a part of multiple CIA death or suicide squads whose missions are to assassinate as many police or civilians as possible during their missions, with the sole purpose of destabilizing this nation through creating an atmosphere of lawlessness, chaos, and anarchy. Death or suicide squads are the modus operandi for the CIA.
This is something that we have to recognize is not coming from another political party. It's coming from the Democratic Party with the complicity of the Republicans. It's also the complicity of the entire Senate Intelligence Committee that has not been doing its job, that has allowed the CIA to become a death squad, which is what it is today.
Its operatives routinely conduct clandestine operations in other countries in an effort to destabilize regions, with the result being the eventual seizure of power from a government through illegal actions and sudden violent overthrow or coup. Recently, we've seen the failed coup play out in Turkey. America has been implicated, and Obama has denied any involvement.
Any reports that we had any previous knowledge of a coup attempt, that there was any U.S. involvement in it, that we were anything other than entirely supportive of Turkish democracy, are completely false, unequivocally false.
Dio's Gene Chip Tatum was a CIA assassin who revealed startling information about a mission called Red Rock that the suicide squad he was assigned to had been a part of.
Hi, my name is Chip Tatum, and I'm an ex-intelligence officer for the United States government. 25 years ago, I started my service as a young airman in the United States Air Force. I went through Special Forces training as a combat controller and was subsequently sent to Vietnam. During my tour in Vietnam, I was recruited onto a team called Team Red Rock. The operation that we performed was Operation Red Rock. It was an operation designed to move Lon Nol, the premier of Cambodia, off of the proverbial fence and onto the side of the U.S. government. During this operation, Team Red Rock was captured. Orders were given by the President of the United States that Team Red Rock should not return to the United States. During our captivity, all but 2 of us were tortured to death. He explained to me that when Washington decided to order Operation Red Rock, the President ordered that no one can ever know. With those orders to General Haig and to Dr. Henry Kissinger, the mission was given to Bill Colby, the station chief in Saigon, to prepare the mission and to ensure that the men performing the mission didn't return. At the end of the debriefing with Mr. Colby, he explained to me that I had a choice. I could either stay with the Air Force and go under the operational control of the CIA, or I could go under the direct employment of the CIA. I chose.
It is clear from Chip Tatum's testimony that the American government does, in fact, employ death or suicide squads. In retrospect, armed with this new information, the events in Houston, Dallas, and Baton Rouge take on an even darker, more sinister, and Machiavellian meaning. Your own government is actively trying to kill you. When we break down the esoteric, masonic, Egyptian mystical symbolism and satanic connections surrounding each of the gunmen, it becomes even more clear that these events were staged by practitioners of dark magic, adepts in the public presentation of Masonic ritual, which is veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. The first shooter, Dionisio, suggested that the US dollar was going to collapse. If you know anything about Masonic cults, you are familiar with the pagan symbolism connected to the $1 bill.
The unfinished pyramid, the all-seeing eye, they're speaking to us through these.
Dionisio was born in San Bernardino County, California. This connects him to the San Bernardino shooting.
We're back with a special edition of Nightline, a deadly California shooting rampage, bloody streets, and a violent standoff between the police and alleged suspects.
It also connects to the Paris shooting and the Eagles of Death Metal, who have a song about San Bernardino. Eagles of Death Metal also connect to the fact that Dionisio was a soldier in the airborne infantry. Dionisio comes from Dionysus. Dionysus is the horned god of drunkenness, debauchery, revelry, and chaos. Modern scholarship categorizes him as a dying and rising god. Garza, in the Spanish language, is equivalent of the heron bird, which connects to Heru or Horus. The heron in Egypt is the Bennu heron bird, and it represented the sun god Ra or Osiris. It was a symbol of rebirth. Greek descriptions of the phoenix liken it to an eagle with red and gold plumage, reminiscent of the sun or of flames. This connects the phoenix to the eagle on the dollar bill as well. The connection of this shooting with the collapse of America and the dollar, along with the phoenix rising from its ashes, is a reference to the destruction of America and the rise of the one world government or New World Order from the ashes of America. The second shooter was Micah Xavier Johnson. We have discussed how Micah in the Bible was a prophet who spoke a prophecy concerning the birth of the coming Messiah in Micah 5:2, which declares, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting." I also pointed out how Micah is pictured wearing a dashiki with a raised, clenched fist with the number 4484 centered in the background. The use of this symbolic imagery is known as the use of Aesopian language. Aesopian language is language that is only understood by those indoctrinated in such verbiage. A more explicit definition of Aesopian language would be symbols which convey an innocent, exoteric meaning to an outsider, but a hidden or esoteric meaning to a member of a conspiracy or underground movement. Therefore, we must look at the esoteric, hidden meaning to discover what is being presented. The clenched fist pointing toward the heavens can be interpreted as defiance toward God or shaking a fist at God. Job 15:25 describes this clenched fist pointed towards the heavens as it declares, "For he stretcheth out his hand against God, and strengtheneth himself against the Almighty." I have already told you the numbers 44 represent Obama as the 44th president, and 84 represent his birthday, which is August 4th or 8/4. In this case, Micah is like the Micah of the Bible. He is conveying the message of the coming Messiah. Unfortunately, this anti-hero is exalting the anti-Messiah, who will raise his fist at God. Micah is wearing a purple African dashiki. Purple is the color of African royalty. The dashiki was made popular in the western parts of the world by the word Oba, a Yoruba word which means king. Notice, Oba are the first 3 letters of Obama's name. Therefore, it is clear that the Aesopian language being used here is meant to point to Obama, the 44th president, born on 8/4, as a messianic king, the anti-Messiah, who will fight against God. The third shooter was Gavin Eugene Long, also known as Cosmo Asar Setepenra. Gavin means hawk, which connects to Horus, who was depicted as a falcon or hawk-headed god. Eugene means well-born, and it comes from eugenics, which is the science of improving a human by genetic altering. This was the science behind Hitler's attempt at creating the Übermensch, or Superman.
Contrary to the rumors that you've heard, I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
Long means of great duration, lasting. Cosmo comes from the Greek cosmos, meaning order, world, or world order. The word cosmopolitan means worldly. Worldly means secular, profane, the opposite of sacred, having no religious or spiritual foundation, or, in other words, without God. Someone who is worldly is a person who is free from local, provincial, or national bias or attachment. He or she is a citizen of the world, also known as a cosmopolite.
Peace, family. What it do? You know, it's Cosmo right here, reporting live from Houston. In my hotel, gave out probably.
Long wrote that he had sold or gave away his possessions and traveled to Africa, passing through Rwanda, Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Egypt, Ghana, and Burkina Faso. He claimed to have also visited 30 U.S. states as well as the Bahamas, Korea, Thailand, and the Maldives. This would make him a citizen of the world, or cosmopolite. Asur is just another name for Osiris, the Egyptian god of the underworld and the dead. Osiris's soul was worshipped in its own right, almost as if it were a distinct god in the city of Mendes, where he was worshipped as the Ram of Mendes. This connects Osiris to the goat of Mendes, or Satan. Setepen-Ra was a name used for the Egyptian pharaoh who claimed to be the sun god Horus or Ra. Supposedly, Setepen-Ra is connected to the origin of Stephen, which means king. This points back to the same messianic king and Nubian pharaoh represented by Micah in his picture, and their attempt to conflate the Antichrist with the true Messiah. It should also be noted that Gavin was pictured wearing a dashiki as well. It is clear then that Gavin Eugene Long, who took the name Cosmo Asar Setepen-Ra, represents the spirit of Antichrist, the horned goat of Mendes, the worldly, irreligious masses, the coming New World Order, and its ruler king, the Pharaoh, Obama. In conclusion, these trained and experienced military men, members of a suicide or death squad, were unleashed like wild and vicious attack dogs on society under the employ of our own government, led by the spirit of Antichrist, with the sole purpose of causing mass chaos while promoting lawlessness and anarchy through hatred of police and the rule of law. Interestingly enough, the movie Suicide Squad is set to be released this year.
Gentlemen, ladies, what if Superman had decided to fly down, rip off the roof of the White House, grab the president right out of the Oval Office? Who would have stopped him?
I want to build a team of some very bad people who I think can do some good.
The Suicide Squad works for the government, and they do the bidding of the president. Wake up. True reality is not the reality you have been convinced to believe in. Satan's evil Antichrist spirit is manifesting itself in physical, corporeal form. Therefore, God's children must also manifest the Spirit of God in the physical as well. Eternal life trumps death any day. Amen. Shalom.